Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I am going to be sharing a makeup blending brush review. Now this is the $10 Amazon set that I'll be reviewing, but first I want to remind you, if you haven't already, be sure to follow me across social media. You'll find a lot more from me on there. Also, if you haven't already, you can subscribe to my channel down below, and if you enjoy this video, click the thumbs up button and give it a like. That always helps. So there has been a new blending brush set that is on the market, and they're called like the most amazing blending brushes. But these are pretty much the exact same thing. They came packaged the exact same way, just in a different box with a different logo on it. They came in the plastic sleeve. There are 10 brushes in the set. Each one came individually wrapped, and I mean, the handles are exactly the same. I've looked at everything that I can think of to look at, and while I highly support small companies, I found this for less than $10 on Amazon. It was about actually $8, plus I'm a Prime member, so free shipping. I just could not I just couldn't make up the price difference. I mean, if it was a few dollars, I get it, but this was 8 compared to like 50 plus shipping from a stamping supply store. So I went ahead and grabbed this, and it also came with directions on how to clean these. These are makeup brushes, so you do want to use a nice, gentle soap with them. With even my makeup brushes that I use on my face, I just like to use a baby shampoo for them. I use my hand to clean it out, and then I rinse it off with some warm water and lay them flat to dry. I do it at night and then they dry overnight. Doesn't take any time at all. These also come with a little travel bag if you were interested in taking them with you. Now these are super soft. They are nice and durable. I didn't have any shedding with these at all, and I've been using them for quite a while now, and I've used them across several cards you'll see in upcoming videos. So far I have had no shedding, and the good thing is I have not had to clean them yet. I just spot clean them after I'm finished with them, and so far they're doing great. There's a closer look at the head of each brush. Now this set comes with 5 of the oval brushes. You get 4 of the on the larger side, so you've got kind of large, 2 medium, and a smaller one. Then you get a very precise little oval blending brush right here. This has a nice dense head. These pick up ink really well, and just like any other makeup brush, these are going to stain. So just know that even though it may look dirty, just make sure you rub it across some paper to make sure that it's got no ink on it. But the tendency with makeup brushes, even with eyeshadows and things, they just stain. You also get 3 of these little, very skinny heads. These are great for very precise blending. And again, I'll have a video showing you how I use these more detail-oriented brushes in a future video. Then I also have these 2 small, very circular heads. One's nice and flat, and the other one has a nice rounded tip on it. So you've got a lot of different options here for a lot of different blending styles and a lot of different techniques. Here's a nice close-up of this final little set here. There you get a closer look at the flat compared to the more rounded head on those brushes. So these are great and pretty to look at, but it's kind of all about how they perform, right? So I did a bunch of different tests with these. Starting off with Catherine Pooler ink, sugared lavender for this. These are great blending inks. They compare really well to the Distress inks, I believe. And then I'll go ahead and just pick up some of that and start blending. Now, the great thing about these is they start off very light, and you can really build up the color. It's a great way, especially for people like me who have trouble with that little bit of a harsh edge you get sometimes. Sometimes I get a little hasty, I guess you could say. I don't have the most patience in the world, so I get a lot of those harsh edges, and this really helps with that. You can also build the color with them. Now for these smaller detail brushes, they're not great for blending out large areas. However, for really fine detail work, these are going to be great. And like I said, when I first got these, I was like, now how am I going to use these very peculiar looking brushes for blending, but they actually work really well for really fine detail blending, especially if you want to keep the ink in a very specific spot. So I went ahead and tested those out. Overall, they work very good for blending. They pick up a nice amount of ink and they blend it out very, very well. Now these also blend on the edges very well, so no harsh lines with these at all. You can see I have a very, very nicely blended area there. Now for these two detail brushes, I wouldn't necessarily use them for blending on the edge that much, but they do work in a pinch if you need them. So like I said, I just spot clean these while I'm using them. You can do a deep clean if you want to when you're finished using them, but I find that I don't even need that. What I do is I just take a piece of paper, this is just plain computer paper, and I rub my brush across it. Whatever ink is left off there, I just continue to rub until I get no color that's left behind. Now that doesn't mean that all the ink is off, so what I like to do is take a towel. You can use a stamp scrubber, you can use a piece of felt, whatever, just a nice soft towel. Give it a few spritzes of water and just rub my brush along that. It's not too much water to where these are going to get grimy and gross and start to stink or anything like that. It's just a very little bit of water to kind of hydrate that ink and get it to remove out of the bristles. If you wanted to, once you're done with this, you can also use a little bit of alcohol, and that's going to sanitize your brush so you don't get that smelly kind of musty smell that you sometimes get whenever you're just spritzing your brushes with water. So I did this with all three of the little brushes that I used, just rubbed them on the towel to get off the extra ink, and then tested them on the paper. Now, I tested these before I even started reviewing them. I like to get my things and play around with them a lot before I give my opinion on them. So here are just some test swatches I did. I used Catherine Pooler inks. You'll see the colors off to the left-hand side there. And I used a stencil from the Crafters Workshop. I just blended these together with those brushes. It worked really well. I grabbed a die cut. I used some Versafine Clair Ink, which is actually a pigment ink, so it's different. It's still blended beautifully with these brushes, and you can see I blended it on a die cut. I did a nice ombre look. You can really build up the color with these and get it nice and light towards the bottom. These are perfect for doing that ombre look. I love the way this one turned out. I cannot get this very often with my other blending tools. The clarity brushes, I would say I could probably do this. It would just take a little bit longer. Now here is a final look at these tests that I did. For this, I used some Distress inks, and I did a nice little blend there with two colors that are pretty similar. And I also used a little die cut as a stencil, and I showed you the outside as well. Now for this, I wanted to see how it just blended together, so I used two different colors of Distress ink, did light towards the bottom, darker towards the top, and see how much I could blend that out towards the white. I also wanted to use a very, very dark color of Distress ink, so this is that very, very dark green, and it's pine needles, and I just started at the bottom, blended up to see how light I could get it to go, which is pretty light. Now I wanted to compare all my different types of blending brushes that I use. So I've got my mini ink blending tool, I've got my Clarity stencil brushes, and then I've got my little makeup tool that I'm using there. I'm using It's a Boy Catherine Pooler ink. I know this blends very well. I use it for skies a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and use that just to do this test because I know how it performs and I know it performs well. So I'll go ahead and first start off with my blending brush. I went ahead and masked out little rectangles so I could blend from the bottom left corner on each one and just blend towards the top right, kind of going at an angle here. So I'm starting off my paper and blending towards the top. Now for the clarity brushes, I find going back and forth is kind of the trick to them, so I couldn't really start in the corner and go towards the other corner. I'm just going back and forth for this one and going up. Again, these blend beautifully. I love these brushes so much. It gives more of a, not streaky in a bad way, but it gives more of a horizontal kind of look to it. You'll see in the close-up of this. Now for this, the last one, I went ahead and used the makeup blending brushes and just blended those the same way I did the first one, bottom left to top right, and kind of built up that ink. Here is a nice look at each one of them. You can see they each give different results. They're all beautiful, they're all unique, and they all kind of have their place. I've got to say though, for kind of building up that ink color, I like these makeup brushes a lot. Especially with my heavy hand, they really, really work well. And overall, for the $8 that I spent on them, I am super happy with how they performed. There was no shedding. There was no streaking. I've used them and continue to use them and continue to use them. The staining is at a minimum. I haven't had to clean them completely, like a really good soak yet. And they're not stinking on me or anything like that. So I'm really enjoying them. I like them, and you can't beat the price. So one final last look at a close-up of all these different blending styles put together. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and a closer look at these brushes and how they work. That is going to do it for me today. There are going to be links on the left side of your screen you can click on. All the supplies that I used are going to be listed down in the description box below. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting.